Doctor?
Good morning, McGraw.
Good to have you here. I love these stories because, and this is one of the reasons why we have you on the show, because it's so very confusing and so hard to understand what is the best course of action. So, should one go and get screened for skin cancer?
Yeah, so this is the great thing to have a few minutes to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so, number one, a story came out and said that U.S. Preventive Health Services Consortium did not recommend that yearly screenings, meaning visual inspection of your skin, did anything to prevent dying from skin cancer.
Which is interesting because that's the exact opposite of what they've been saying for years.
You would think, but there's a lot of devil in the details here. Number one, we're talking about screening for everybody.
Okay.
No worrisome looking spots on your skin, no history of melanoma or other potentially precancerous lesions.
Right.
Just everybody with a yearly look at their skin. And when we talk about prevention in the doctor world, we talk about, well, how many do you need to screen to prevent one person from dying?
Okay.
And when that number gets up into the tens of hundreds of several hundreds of thousands, it really does not become an effective tool because it's not cost effective. And that's kind of where we're stuck with this.
Right.
What they did not say is they did not say that this was something that should be avoided. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the complete converse, and we need to make sure we're not saying that.
Right.
So skin cancer is very prevalent. And the concept of should we do everything we can and potentially even more than we've done in the past to avoid it, I think is absolutely true. And this group didn't say anything different. Sunscreen's absolutely very important. Trying to stay out of the sun with covering your face with a hat and with wearing potentially long sleeve shirts if you can stand it in this weather, absolutely very important. And keeping track of what your skin looks like. And so if you have freckles, if you have moles, if you have spots, looking at those, and if any of those do provide any concern, talking about those with your physician and potentially getting a dermatologist to look at those, absolutely very important. That's a very different statement than what was made.
So if somebody works inside all day and doesn't really see the sun and has no family history of skin cancer and they're 50 years old, chances are they don't necessarily need to go see somebody.
Right.
But if they're a coach and they've been coaching for the last 30 years and their mother has got skin cancer, they should probably be a little more forthcoming and go to a doctor. Absolutely.
So the issue is, well, what's your risk? What's your risk? And I guess the best way to put it probably for your listeners is if there's a personal concern, if number one, you need to pay attention to these things because skin cancer does kill people. If there's a personal concern, then that should elevate it to the next level. And that's not general screening, just meaning like run you through the assembly line.
Right.
That means get your concern checked out.
Yeah. What I know myself, played baseball as a kid, don't spend a lot of time in the sun now. I've gotten those tests where they take a picture, like an x-ray of your face, and they're like, oh, you know what, you have some damage on your skin. Absolutely. You don't have skin cancer, but you have damage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And because the sun is very powerful. Yeah. This is the argument about the ozone layer kind of becoming depleted, and so the radiation influences from the sun are stronger now probably than they were a couple years ago when you were a kid. Yeah. And it does cause damage to the cells in the skin, and potentially leads itself to the cancer. Yeah. Depends on, again, back to what's your predilection, skin type. Darker skinned people, I'm from Asian descent, from African Americans tend to have less of an issue from that standpoint.
Yeah, because of the darker skin protects your skin. Oh.
But they're not completely protected.
Right.
But very white and very pale people, especially with pre-existing moles or spots, these things have to be looked at very closely, and people have to pay attention.
Well, quickly, what are you looking at? Because I know husbands and wives say, hey, look at my back, check me out type of deal. What are you looking for?
Yeah, so a typical mole or a spot that in general is not something to worry too much about, is something that's looked look the same for a long period of time. Usually is very circumscribed, which means it has very sharp borders and usually round. When it starts to have irregular borders and it kind of looks a little bit more like an amoeba and potentially changes over the course of a month. Well, that didn't necessarily look the same last month as it did this month, that kind of thing. That's what we need to worry about.
Yeah. I a couple of years ago, I went to a dermatologist and I was like, this doesn't look right. And he's like, that's a precancerous deal, and cut it out. I mean, it was a very simple procedure, but glad I went and got it checked out.
So this is the last thing with respect to the prevention deal and screening, is that the only way to truly tell with fact whether a lesion is cancerous or precancerous is to be able to take that tissue, which means cut it out, and examine it under the microscope. And so you're potentially subjecting a lot of people into that funnel with these lesions, and you put dermatologists in a position of they have to know whether this is cancerous or not every single time. That's a lot of biopsies. That's a lot of scars. That's a lot of increase of money into the health system. And so this is why preventative task forces like this shy away from saying everybody should get screened every year.
Interesting stuff. Dr. Michael Lim, cardiologist, St. Louis University Care, SLU Care, and SSM Health SLU Hospital. Doctor, always a pleasure. Thanks for coming in.
Have a great day.
By the way, the best dressed doctor in town. That is a great bow tie. Did you learn that at Michigan, or did you learn that before?
This is a newer thing as I start to get up in age.
Okay.
Added the bow tie in the regimen.
A very distinguished Michael Lim here on the Big 550 KTRS. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
824 here, Big 550.